What is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, where today we are looking at the full storyline for the final Reich. If you go on to enjoy today's video, as always, a like rating would be very much appreciated, but of course you don't have to if you don't want to. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest zombies videos on the channel, and also click that bell notification icon if you haven't already. But with that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Here we go. So the story begins with Klaus Fischer. Now, as of right now, we don't know too much about his childhood, but in his adulthood, Klaus studied at Heidelberg University. And Klaus studied there until his father became ill. And this meant that Klaus had to come home to take care of him and take over his workshop. But whilst at home, Klaus was furious to find out that his mentor, Professor Leonhard, had retired, crushing his hopes of contributing to the German scientific renaissance. With all of this piling on Klaus, his father becoming ill, his professor retiring, him having to take care of his father's workshop, and also now that the Nazi party had come into power, he also fell out with his sister, Marie, over his views on the Nazi party. Since Klaus and his family were Austrian, Klaus was convinced that there was actually hope within the Nazis. Klaus believed in what they were doing, whilst his sister Marie saw them as no good, and so the siblings parted ways. Klaus continued to watch over his father's toy shop, while Marie followed her plan to defect and join the British Secret Service. Klaus, though, now having parted ways with his sister, would eventually regain hope when workers in the village of Mittelburg found an ancient artifact. And this was the hilt, or the handle, of Emperor Friedrich Barbarossa's sword, hidden deep within the mines. Klaus wanted to become a respected member within the Nazis, and so was convinced that he could present this artifact to Hitler and prove his worth. And so, after using his connections to contact the Nazis, the Ahnenerbe, I've probably pronounced that incorrectly, but this was a Group A project within Nazi Germany to research the archaeological and cultural history of the Aryan race. So as I was saying, after Klaus used his connections to contact the Nazis sent in the Ahnenerbe, where eventually they arrived in the village, and Klaus was introduced to Doctor Peter Straub, whom he then took to the mines to present the artifact. Dr. Straub, after seeing the Holy Roman Emperor Friedrich Barbarossa's hilt, and after trying to remove it, they discovered that it was protected by a magnetic force, and so Dr. Straub then put Mittelburg on lockdown and prevented all of the residents living in the village from leaving. Meanwhile, Klaus attempted to prove himself to Straub by presenting his earlier works with Leonhard to him, only to be met with impudence from the latter, who claims his works were poorly documented and amateur. Straub also talked of Klaus's and Marie's father, Heinz Fischer, and ridiculed him for his shift from weapon design to making toys. And now, even though Klaus accepted to work with Dr. Straub, he felt regret for not having listened to his father. Klaus began to question if he had made a mistake. However, Straub continued to attempt to remove Friedrich Barbarossa's hilt, and despite initially having no success, the Nazis were able to find a way to siphon energy from it, calling this energy the Geistkraft. During an early experiment to draw power from the hilt, a cable overheated and snapped, striking two guards and instantly killing them. However, they soon began to violently twitch and reanimate before getting up and walking towards a surprised Dr. Straub with the intention of killing him. However, more guards arrived just in time to put the two down. With the incident, Straub soon discovered the key to completing his task of creating an army for Hitler, as well as a vision of the latter's future. Utilizing the Geistkraft energy from the hilt, Straub was able to create a vast army of the undead, while one of his associates, Heinz Richter, was able to create various weaponry with the energy, such as the Tesla gun and its variants with the use of special Überschnell batteries. However, tensions soon rose between Straub and Richter when the latter sought to use more Geistkraft energy for more weapons. And whilst this was happening, Klaus, who became aware of Straub's true intentions of creating an undead army for Hitler, with the power of the Geistkraft energy from the hilt, decided to begin to sabotage Straub's work. And whilst he was doing this, he discovered that the art within the chamber told a story, one that told the true reason why the sword was separated, as well as a secret organisation that was dedicated to keep the history and powers of the sword hidden and out of the hands of anyone else. Klaus had discovered that they weren't the only ones watching over this sword. Having discovered this, Klaus knew that Dr. Straub couldn't find out about it. He knew that Straub couldn't find out about these other forces that existed, and so continued to sabotage his work, taking part of Straub's research, including the Tesla gun, and hiding them all around Mittelburg. And in the meantime, he was writing to his sister Marie, telling her of his plan and what he was doing. He told her about what the Nazis were doing, about what they were up to, and he told his sister Marie that she needs to gather a team to come fix this and save him. And so Klaus hid parts of the Tesla gun all around the village, hoping that Marie would return and use them to battle against the horrors that he was about to unleash next. One of Klaus's final attempts to sabotage Straub's work was to release the undead onto the town and put an end to Straub's evil, and that's exactly what he did. But what Klaus didn't know is that Straub knew that someone was sabotaging his work. He found that his documents and his weapons had gone missing, and now with his undead army being released upon the village, Straub quickly caught on that Klaus had been sabotaging him. And so before Klaus could do one last thing and release Straub's most powerful zombie, the Panzermörder, Straub caught him. He caught Klaus, and as a punishment, he fused him to it. Klaus had become a part of the Panzermörder. The Panzermörder, however, just like the zombies, broke free and roamed the town of Mittelburg. Now that the village was overrun by the undead, Dr. Straub quickly went into hiding to save himself, while Richter manned a zeppelin in the skies above to get away from the developing situation. Not too soon later though, after receiving her brother's messages for some time, an MFAA team consisting of Klaus's sister Marie, as well as Drossen Hind, Olivia Durant and Jefferson Potts, arrives near the village thanks to the intel given to them by Klaus. As they're being briefed on their mission in a trailer near the village to retrieve paintings stolen by the Nazis, as well as to rescue Marie's brother, suddenly the Panzermörder picks up the trailer, throws it, destroys it, separating the crew, where they finally meet up again at the gates of the village. Now at Mittelburg, the four manage to search through the town whilst fighting off against the undead, discovering the research bunker and the hilt of the sword still in its chamber. Thanks to Klaus's intel, after a series of trials, the group manages to break the magnetic force around the hilt with the use of the Tesla gun, as well as the Rabeners, a mysterious crystal that is part of the sword's hilt. Upon attaching the two pieces together and regrouping back at the village, they then come face to face with the Panzermörder, seeing that Klaus is fused to the front of it. After a long battle, the group is able to defeat the Panzermörder by placing 3 charged Überschnell batteries on it, causing it to be pulled to Richter's Zeppelin via a magnet. In a desperate attempt to escape, the Panzermörder rips a hole in the Zeppelin, causing it to explode, killing the beast. Not only the beast, but killing Richter and Klaus in the process. However, the group discover that the hilt holds a power, the power of resurrection. And with Klaus's body landing in front of them, they proceed to accidentally resurrect him. But with Klaus now alive again, he seems to have lost his mind. He seems to have gone crazy. He begins to lash out at Marie and the others for what they have done, and then starts straggling through the village, constantly rambling, before eventually he walks to the well trap, where Klaus then warns the group to continue fighting and that the Emperor must not return, before activating the trap, engulfing himself in flames. Klaus burnt himself alive, but not before telling the group that they must do whatever they can to ensure that the Emperor doesn't return.
Keep fighting! The Emperor must not return!
And there we go. That is the full story of the final Reich. That is World War II zombies so far, and I have to say it is a super interesting story. There are some really interesting things going down, and with that we can kind of figure out where we are going with this. As Klaus hinted, if the sword is fully resurrected, and as we've seen already, its powers could ultimately resurrect the Emperor himself. Frederick Barbarossa, the Holy Roman Emperor, whose reign lasted from 1155 to 1190. He was considered the greatest leader of his age, and possessed a rare combination of qualities that made him appear superhuman to the people at that time. And he died by drowning. As we can see, his hilt already has powers to resurrect. And so if the sword's fully put together, if that's what we're doing, going through these maps, finding parts to the sword, eventually putting it together, it's possible that we resurrect Frederick Barbarossa. But there we go, it took ages to put this video together and find everything, so if you have enjoyed, a like rating would be very much appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest zombies videos on the channel, and also drop a like rating, click the bell notification icon, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.